Hello, friends! You might not believe it, but even in the 21st century, with all the scientific and technological progress we have, there are still people who believe that the Earth is flat. Of course, they have their own reasons. Perhaps their most important reason is that from the point of view of an observer on Earth, everything really does look flat. Well, if the Earth looks flat from where we stand, why should we bother looking for other explanations? From their perspective, NASA and a large part of modern science have created a huge conspiracy to convince us that the Earth is spherical. Now, what reason there would be for such a conspiracy is another question entirely. But today, we are not going to prove that the Earth is not flat and is actually round. Instead, we have a thought experiment. We want to imagine what our lives would be like if the Earth were really flat. So, let's start from the beginning. The very beginning. First of all, we should say that a flat Earth would not be a very stable shape in space among stars and planets. In fact, this disk shape might not even be suitable for creating conditions necessary for life. That means life might never have formed on such a planet, and we wouldn't even exist to watch this video. But for now, let's move past that idea and imagine that humans and life still existed on this disc-shaped Earth, just like they do today. In that case, what would our experience of life be like? In this video, we want to imagine together that the Earth is flat and we live on it. We want to see what life in this world, on this Earth disk, would look like. The first thing that would probably catch our attention is the perfectly flat and endless horizon. If the Earth rotated around the center of the disk, the sun would never actually set. That means we would always see the sun in the sky. In that situation, it would always be daytime, and the sun would shine from almost the same angle all the time. The result? There would be no seasons. But if the Earth rotated around the diameter or edges of the disk, we might experience something similar to day and night. However, even then, the intensity of sunlight from sunrise to sunset would remain almost the same, because the atmosphere would spread the light similarly at most angles. Another interesting difference would appear when ships move across the ocean. On the real Earth, the ship's hull disappears first behind the curve of the Earth, and then the mast. But on a disc-shaped Earth, ships would simply get smaller and smaller until they vanished from sight. Another major problem would be satellites. On a disc-shaped Earth, satellites could not orbit as easily as they do today. The non-spherical shape of the Earth would cause gravity to be distributed differently, preventing stable orbits from forming. The result? Many modern technologies such as GPS, satellite internet, and global communication systems might not exist. Even the moon would behave strangely. The Earth's shadow on the moon would likely be very different. Depending on how the disk Earth rotated, we might see a thin, constant band of shadow on the moon that barely changed, or a band that slightly grew and shrank before returning to its original shape. Our ancestors, who used the moon to measure time and plan agriculture, would probably have had a completely different experience, or perhaps they could not have used the moon to track time at all. Lunar eclipses might also look completely different, because a lunar eclipse happens when the Earth's shadow falls on the moon. Another interesting feature of the real Earth is that people in the northern and southern hemispheres see different night skies, and different constellations appear during different months. But on a flat Earth, since there would be no hemispheres, everyone on the disk would probably see the same night sky. Perhaps the most important difference would involve something our daily lives depend on completely: time zones. On our spherical Earth, people in different countries experience different times of day. For example, when it is night in the eastern United States, it is already daytime in places like China or India. This happens because sunlight hits the curved surface of the Earth differently. But if the Earth were a disk rotating around its center, it might be always day or always night, or perhaps always something like noon or afternoon, because the sun would shine at almost the same angle all the time. Now, imagine what such a world would look like: life without real changes between day and night, without seasons, and without time differences across the world. Do you really think life would not become monotonous, boring, and maybe even difficult? And the problems of a flat Earth would not stop there. If the Earth were a disk, gravity would no longer pull straight downward. The closer we move to the edge of the Earth, the more it would feel like we were standing on a huge slope pulling us toward the center of the disk. Under those conditions, even the oceans would behave differently. Water would gradually flow toward the center of the disk. As a result, a massive ocean might form in the center of the Earth, while areas closer to the edges would become drier and more water scarce. Travel would also be completely different. On a spherical Earth, if you travel in one direction long enough, you eventually return to your starting point. But on a flat Earth, traveling in a straight line would eventually bring you to the edge of the world, perhaps the end of the map itself. Another major issue would be the Earth's magnetic field. Our real Earth has a powerful magnetic shield that protects us from many dangerous solar radiations. But on a disk-shaped Earth, such a strong and coherent magnetic field might never form. As a result, solar radiation could have a much stronger impact on the surface of the Earth, making life far more difficult. And perhaps this reminds us that the spherical shape of Earth is not just a simple geometric feature. It is one of the most important reasons our planet is stable, safe, and suitable for life. Fortunately, our Earth is round, a world full of sunrises, sunsets, colorful seasons, and wonders that make life fresh and exciting every single day.